Is luck on my side? I thought, clacking my teeth. I reached my goal faster than I thought. I summed it up, though, without taking my eyes off the blue screen of the system with the text I had been waiting for so long. One type is available to you. The inscriptions of the system window read. Want to unlock the strong body type? And as usual, the answer options are yes and no. I devoured about 500 samples and got only 3 characteristics. I thought mentally, still looking at the translucent window of the system. Although getting a type is not so bad either. Should I unlock a trait now? I thought, touching my elastic pink companion. Wait a minute, I said to him, hissing aloud, I need to do something. A pink lump was surprised, looking at me. I agree, perhaps. After all, I finally decided and pressed the agreement button on the translucent screen. Suddenly, my body seemed to be filled with something hot, spreading through the veins of my body. They appeared under the skin, becoming convex. In the legs, as if the muscles have become much denser and larger. Although outwardly the body did not change much, it only became a little larger than those sizes, and steam began to emanate from me in clouds. My pink friend immediately tensed up watching what was happening and not understanding what was happening. Big. After a while, a pink blob exclaimed and like stars lit up around it. He was very impressed by what was happening, but he was even glad about it. Big. Big. My friend exclaimed and immediately began to jump closer to me. I grew up. Making a hiss out loud, I decided to explain to the experiment, which for some reason puzzled him. Grown up? He asked. What does it mean? When the cub becomes an adult. I hissed back at him again, and he seemed to light up again. A kind of pink flashlight with sparks. A cub? Ah, baby. It finally got to him. The baby has become bigger. He began to exclaim, jumping higher and higher. Baby. The waves of his voice almost screamed. What kid? I did not understand his excessive joy. Well, I thought, mentally reasoning, if we consider this stage from the point of view of immaturity, then there is something in his words. He's pretty smart, I reasoned the same way, not taking my eyes off and watching how the kid was freaking out. I'll explain when he grows up. In any case, I reasoned the same way, putting one of my paws to my head, now my body is stronger and seems quite hard and heavy. I feel the same as if a leopard suddenly became a rhinoceros. Increased in stature, I reasoned, looking at one of my limbs, the limbs were covered with armor. I turned my gaze to my feet and lightly knocked my right hand on the floor. There was more strength in the legs. What is there with the characteristics? Finally, I thought and again highlighted the blue window of the system in order to find out more. I read natural restoration, tentacles saws, polluting coating in front of me, hung a blue system window with some kind of illumination. A window that only I and no one else could see. The text inside reads. Race. Unidentified hostile space creature. Condition. Individual goal. To survive, evolution. Successful, features. Body. Wings, kite and shell, regeneration, combined, venom glands, combined, reinforced exoskeleton, acidic blood, strong legs, the ability to imitate sounds, tentacles saws, polluting coating. Extrasensory perception. Predator's sense, combined, psychic organ. Type. Strong body currently only one type is characteristic of you. Type strong psyche, 2 out of 6, natural recovery merged with vitality and formed the combined skill regeneration. I was thinking, studying the system information window. Everything would be fine, but only the penalty for the type leaves much to be desired. I pondered, not taking my eyes off the line at the moment, only one type is characteristic of you. Type strong psyche, 2 out of 6, amorphous can receive an unlimited number of types, but with the receipt of a new type, the requirements for others will double. For example, if I was the first to get the type strong psyche, then to get the type strong body I would need not 10 characteristics, but 20. If I were in the game, I would think about him first of all. However, the crisis is just around the corner, nothing can be done. I was still thinking, not taking my eyes off. I will postpone getting the next type for later, I decided and raised my paw in order to test something. A hole appeared in the middle of the so-called palm of my monster body. First you need to test the obtained characteristics. In itself, the tentacles saws are very ambiguous and weak. A red-tinged tentacle immediately popped out of the hole, outwardly resembling my tail in some way, but more ribbed. I made a tentacle release in the direction of the column, entangled in green slime. The tentacle pierced through the target with its sharp point, which immediately spread a web of cracks in different directions. However, after the improvement, they have become much stronger. I decided after analyzing their condition at the moment and carefully studying their appearance. The next in line, polluting coating, I rubbed myself against a surface and immediately dark green smoke began to swirl on the ground as if from a barrel with pesticides. Other abilities can be used together with it. I was thinking, watching how in places where there was smoke, undulating paths were eaten and poison was flowing down my arm in a thick drop of green color. Now I can even form spores that secrete acid. Thanks to this ability, you can turn a ship into a fortress. I thought and immediately looked at my hand, the skin on which had turned a pitch color. It is ideal for fighting a strong enemy. Once I've checked everything, we can move on. I decided, heading away from my nest. I was immediately followed by a pink jumper. "Baby, where to?" he asked, jumping on my shoulder. "To the hangar." I hissed right back at him. I wonder what the reaction of the ship's crew members would be if they saw me in this guise? I thought about it and when the doors with a whistle gave access further, I went forward with a pink lump on my shoulder. Would they start crying? Or would you run to the escape pods? Now we will find out. Run away. It's coming. There was a shout from the crowd and many feet immediately trampled on the smooth surface of the cool floor of the ship. "Hurry up," the brown-haired man exclaimed, opening the doors to the ship's employees and letting them through to the exit. "We won't wait for anyone." He shouted again, and the crowd, without slowing down, was still heading towards him. "All. Close the doors," the brown-haired man exclaimed again, checking whether everyone had time to evacuate from this compartment. "Why are you frozen?" he exclaimed when he saw one of the workers huddling against a wall, trembling violently and barely getting a tooth on a tooth. "Hurry up. We're all going to die," the man stammered, not moving a millimeter and ready for anything. Having thrown away all his hopes. "Damn. Away." The brown-haired man could not stand it and immediately pushed the standing man away with a powerful kick. Without wasting a drop of time, his hand immediately laid on the handle and with powerful jerks, lowered the curved lever down. The doors almost instantly closed with a whoosh in an attempt to block access from that compartment of the ship to living people. There were only a couple of centimeters or even millimeters left, but alas for them, this was enough for me. Through a small gap, the fingers of my limbs immediately appeared, still covered with splashes of someone's blood. I grabbed the door plates with both paws. A small effort and now the plates of the strong door are crumpled and pushed apart. And through the big hole that is formed, I look out, straining every muscle of my alien body. I grinned in a kind of smile, still showing rows of my sharp teeth, but already covered with splashes of fresh scarlet blood. "Ah," the brown-haired man exclaimed and immediately fell on his back, and his body trembled with fear. "They are like mice trapped in a trap, or rather in a closed space from which there is no way out. Here it is and the herd for slaughter. Or is the food sent down by God? Stay away," they screamed, stuttering with fear. "Save me." Everyone screamed as one, and the women almost broke into a squeak. A cacophony of sounds immediately filled the space. I wonder from which side should I look? I am their punishment or still. I didn't enjoy the screams of horror and tears for too long, and the pleas were replaced by screams even louder, screeching and gurgling. The surfaces of the room were immediately flooded with liters of scarlet still hot blood, which a second ago was still in these bags of meat. They spat blood, the bodies cut in half, managed to warm the hope of escapes, and tried in every way to crawl away. But what's the use? It's all to no avail. This is their end point of the path. This is their undoing. Here and there, bloody palms and stripes remained on the walls and floor from the fact that I was pulling corpses to me, or still breathing victims, so that they would be silenced forever. The glass of the hatch even cracked. Anyway, it was more like a bloodbath with people still begging for salvation. On this day, the ship was still sailing smoothly through space, but alas, not everything was as usual inside. Genocide was taking place inside the ship. A light blue liquid in which a still half-dead ship worker floats. The face is scarred by deep scars from scratches. The eyelid turned blue and swollen. Doctors do not hear. The man thought. What's happening? His blonde hair was sticking out in clumps on his head. There were scars on half of the face, the other half of the face was eaten away by acid. A mask for oxygen access is fixed on the face. Damn, this dream. He cursed inwardly, and his hand twitched slightly, being together with his body in a light recovery fluid. Where have I sinned if I have to suffer like this? Mentally he was indignant. It's better to die than to live like this. His body was emaciated, which made his ribs covered with skin visible, and his stomach sank inside. Subtly, he seemed to feel something and immediately leaned forward a little, although he could not open his eyes, which were injured by the attack of an alien creature. Military boots? He was puzzled, relying on the sounds that he caught. A soldier? But alas for him, it was me. I came and searched his already crippled soul. No. He shouted mentally. This. From the fear that immediately rolled over him like a wave, he immediately opened his injured eyelid, but instead of eyes there was a deep hole. The body of the eye was missing, namely the eyeball with everything attached. He found me. The victim screamed, as if seeing my head being very close to the flask with his body. Peek-a-boo my sweet. I found the keyboard with my eyes and immediately began typing the right password to open this kinder surprise. How long have you been waiting for me? Sorry I'm late. What is he doing? The blonde man was still thinking, without closing his gaping eye socket. And suddenly a pink bouncer landed on the man's face, penetrating into all the open holes on the man's face. Some second after the pink baby wrapped the victim's head in his warm embrace, he immediately began to corrode it and thereby absorb it, bringing incredible pain. My head is burning. The victim screamed mentally, without a chance to say something out loud or call for help. He only felt a terrible burning sensation, as if his head was enveloped in fire or the same acid that had brought injury before. Hey someone. The man was still screaming mentally, and the liquid that enveloped him began to turn scarlet. The color of the victim's spreading blood. And a lot of oxygen bubbles danced right there in the dance. Someone. He shouted inaudibly to others. Please kill me. But I just enjoyed the picture that unfolded in front of me and gave full freedom of action to my young friend and companion. 3 hours later. After finishing the disassembly with the man's body, the pink clod immediately crawled away from the flask with liquid and a bunch of devices. Did you eat well? I hissed the same question to him, catching him when jumping. Yes. Immediately, he said joyfully in response. What kind of revenge is this? I asked again, while in front of us in the flask was no longer a man, but a floating skeleton covered with slightly settled blood. Revenge? The kid was surprised right there. And what is it? Eat the man who bullied you. I explained immediately, shifting my gaze to the victim who was dealt with. Food. Delicious. Only the pink hopalong replied in response. Number 26 doesn't seem to have emotions like revenge. I immediately thought about the answer of my pink hopalong. I don't know, maybe he was born that way, or maybe he hasn't realized what it is yet. I wondered why scientists were so interested in him. He's not capable of turning into a sea demon, is he? The sea demon lives only on ocean planets. It is more than 25 meters long and equipped with tentacles. A huge pink-colored creature, many times larger than human height, with many colorful eyes and not thick tentacles. Users found similarities between him and the amoeba and were treated with suspicion. The developer was too lazy to work out the character, he was written on his knee. However, this is reality, you never know what. I thought, remembering everything I know, at the same time holding the 26th. Baby. I'm full. Said the pink hopalong, bringing me out of my thoughts, and I immediately turned my attention back to him. He looks pretty tired. It flashed through my head as I examined the clot and put it back on my shoulder. After a while, I finally covered the area with my spores, thereby setting up my nest here. The construction of the nest is going according to plan. I thought about it after watching the clot inflate and release a new portion of spores into the air. In this case, I thought, deciding what follows in my plan after that and smiled predatory. We are going for the next prey. I decided, and my friend and I set off on our way to the next goal of enslaving this ship. The neighborhood of C-08, where the Bara cartel dominates. Oh, save me. There was a cry on the ship that floats smoothly between the fragments of planets or more precisely meteorites. Come here. Another exclaimed and grabbed the fleeing man by the arm immediately, preventing him from escaping. To which he only gasped in response. Expensive. Thank you. The victim was a woman in a cream dress with lots of frills. She has pale skin, bright yellow eyes and long raven-colored hair. On one side of her hand was held by a brown-haired man with a scarlet tattoo on his cheek. To her left was an alien in a body whose skin is green. The ears are pointed, and 2 antennae stick out of the head. He was enjoying what was happening. Get your hands off her right now. A man with light-colored hair and sky-blue eyes exclaimed. He immediately rushed to the aid of his betrothed before it was too late. But alas. He was shot in the back, and his snow-white suit immediately turned scarlet, as if viburnum berries were scattered on freshly fallen snow. No. A woman immediately screamed. The shooter was slightly bald, with only a tuft of blue hair sticking out like an arachis. On the left side of the head there are metal plates and a false eye. On the right side of the face there is the same scarlet tattoo on the skull. Next to him is a man licking the sharpened blade of a dagger. There is a metal implant on the head, shaped like headphones, metal plates from the implant almost to the eye line. He has thickly applied black shadows, and his lips are covered with black lipstick. But he also has a scarlet tattoo, similar to a flower, but applied to the back of his neck. Another one of their gang is squatting next to take off. He hugs a bag of stolen jewelry and smiles contentedly. On his head is a purple mohawk. The implant is on the right side of the face, and the eye is also implanted. The same scarlet pattern flaunts above the metal implants. "Take everything they have," the commander exclaimed. One of the pirates has a shock of hair dyed purple. A metal implant is embedded on his chest instead of armor. In his hands he holds a bat with curved nails driven into a tree. The second is a huge insect. Something between a grasshopper and a mantis, with huge scarlet eyes. The third, similar to the other two brothers, also had an eye implant and a mohawk, but bright yellow, like a chicken, in color. "Kill the men and rape the women. This is the credo of our Punisher," the same voice exclaimed, and a bunch of pirates immediately surrounded the prisoners. Men and women are gathered in the center of the room, and their hands are firmly fixed relative to the body. "Hey! What's with the face? Come here," a dissatisfied voice exclaimed immediately. Someone from the feline family, but with a cross between human and Na, was closely watching what was happening. Or more precisely mutated. Instead of his left eye, he has a metal implant. And between has a land shade. "Please have mercy," the victim stuttered and screamed. The commander-in-chief also has an implant on the surface of the head. His mane has a scarlet hue, like blood. And there is a scar line above and below the right eye. Instead of his right arm, he also has a metal implant, and metal plates are worn over his feet for protection. Leo is wearing a red tank top, and sharp spikes stick out of his breast implants. "And we worked hard for this little thing?" The lion got angry mentally and immediately bared his golden teeth, squinting at the pile of gold and stones from this ship. "Captain!" There was a shout from the side immediately. "How could you?" Lev immediately shifted his gaze to the person who was outraged by something. "We hired you for protection." "But how to understand it?" The voice was indignant again. The lion immediately stopped resting on his paw and nervously sked. "Stupid bastard." The chief among the pirates swore. "Are we friends?" "What?" The blonde man immediately exclaimed, taken aback by what he heard. This is definitely not what was in his plans, and he certainly did not expect such a setup. "And what did you expect?" the lion said and spread his hands to the sides, giving money to strangers. The pigs from Mega Corporation are always like that. There was a guard standing next to the main one. Blonde hair under the square and the same light beard. There is a scarlet mark of fine lines on the left cheek. There are two more pirates in front, who are holding the captain of the ship that they are robbing. On the left hand of the victim is a man with a scarlet shock of hair and, like this, a matching outfit, a tattoo of scarlet curls, blooms on the back of the neck. To the right of the kneeling victim is an alien with a blue skin tone, two horns and a scarlet tattoo on his chest. "What did he say?" The captain of the captured ship exclaimed, standing on all fours in front of the king of beasts. "You son of a bitch. The National Guard must have already received a distress signal and is heading here." The blonde man did not let up, still shouting indignantly. "As soon as they appear here, you will be executed immediately." Oh, the lion said in response, not even straining for a second and only clearing his ear. "How scary." "Oh." The blonde man sighed loudly and continued to be indignant all the same. "You're not even worthy of death. It's better to turn you all into mutant Hulk." This was the last boiling point of the main pirate. So much so that the wreaths under the eyes swelled. And the lion immediately stood up. He went to one of his henchmen and took the blade for his own purposes. The metal hand with a screech squeezed the vise on the handle of the cold weapon, and the pawn was covered with perspiration and froze in its place. "Listen, Captain." The pirate captain calmly began to answer. "I guess Mega Corporation doesn't know much about mercenaries." But the captain of the ship that was robbed did not even show any fright, but only clenched his teeth in anger and looked up menacingly. Like a chihuahua on a Labrador or a wolfhound. "So I will kindly explain." The pirate captain continued. His powerful paw immediately grabbed the blonde by the head with a strong grip, like a vice, and pulled him to himself. He only gasped in response. If a mercenary attaches an employer during an agreement, this is a serious crime, But if there are no witnesses, then there is no one to judge. The lion growled, measuring his captured victim with the predator's gaze. What did you say? The captain of the stripped ship stammered. You shouldn't have called the National Guard. The lion growled and snapped his teeth. For no one can tell them anything. He said, practically moving closer to the blonde. Are you planning to kill us all? The captain of the ship exclaimed, quietly understanding the horror of the situation. I am not familiar with such noble expressions, but I can say one thing for sure. The lion roared. I just love cutting piglets from megacorporation. He spoke and drooled on the blade of the sword in front of the blonde man's face in his powerful grip. A moment and the scarlet splashes splashed like a fountain in a circle, and the victim's body went limp, uttering a heart-rending scream. After they dealt with the captured ship, the boss finally returned to his own ship. The boss has arrived. One of the pirates exclaimed, and they all bowed to their commander. The difference in height was significant. Yes, and in power. It immediately becomes clear why they do not contradict him and also shake at any approach. Take everything, said the lion, and immediately threw on the floor the skin of the face removed from the skull of the captain of the robbed ship, whatever you want. I do not limit you in actions. There is. The pirates immediately exclaimed in response, without moving from their seats. Come to think of it, we've got another job to do today. The boss spoke as he sat down on his throne. He puzzled one of the attendants, from which a man with a bright green mohawk with leather in his hands began to ask questions. What are you talking about? Past. The lion snorted and crossed his legs. Or rather, paw on paw. Bring the garlic here. The captain ordered, and the pirate immediately ran away from his eyes for the desired object. There is? Damn, the lion thought, leaning his head on a metal arm. I'm surrounded by idiots. Boss. The messenger who came running exclaimed. Garlic is here. Thus, he immediately pulled the lion out of his thoughts. Greetings, boss. A girl with medium-length chestnut-colored hair stammered. She was wearing a white lab coat and large glasses with round lenses. The glasses constantly reflected light, so that the eyes are practically invisible. Called? Yes. The lion spoke in his imperious voice, measuring the girl with his gaze. What about the job? Well. She drawled, immediately sweating. There's a meeting to be held today, she mumbled, organized through an acquaintance. But he stopped getting in touch. What? The boss immediately shouted, which scared the girl, and she began to tremble with fear. Ah. She said instinctively and staggered back. Explain. After a little silence, the captain of the ship said more calmly, but the situation was still knee-high. I'm listening. She stammered again and leaned forward a little. A request has been received from Captain Samuel's research vessel. The girl began to explain, still trembling from the shock she had experienced. We need to pick up one corpse. Rod Samuel? The lion immediately bristled, leaning closer to the garlic. What are they doing here? Do you know them? The girl stuttered in surprise, looking up at her boss. Of course. The lion snorted and sighed. Representatives of capital from Titan. He explained and crossed his arms over his chest. What about the corpse? Whose is it? Representatives of noble capital, from the Eugene family. The girl began to explain, and the boss's pupils immediately narrowed, and a squint appeared. The last message said, Chesnachina continued to explain, that 1 million credits would be paid for this case. Ha, the boss sighed and leaned on his paw. 1 million? Madmen? Clearly someone is plotting. The lion immediately thought about it. Something strange is happening inside Megacorporation. Rumor has it that the offspring of the Edgerton family from Mars have challenged the Eugene family, the kings of Earth. Edgerton are officially engaged in the development of ships. 2 large ships made of black metal with light blue illumination are located in the parking lot and have a different shape of the structure. But unofficially genetic modifications. The corpse of a representative of the Eugene family is most likely modified. What if you sell her body to the Edgerton family? I wish I could tear the Edgerton family apart for turning me into a mutant, Leo thought, trying to get up from his throne, but resentment is resentment, and money is money. You say, after breaking a long silence, he finally turned to Garlic, lost contact with the informant. Were they attacked? I'm not sure. Keeping her hands in the lock, the girl mumbled. So, the boss of the space pirates grinned, pigs got lost in our area? I don't know who they are, the lion said, smiling contentedly, but very brave. As soon as we finish here, we will immediately go to Samuel's ship. The boss of the space pirates roared loudly and pointed the metal implants forward. Get ready to track their signal. Yes. His pawns exclaimed and immediately rushed to get down to business. Blow up the ship. The boss of the space pirates growled an order. Erase all traces of our presence. There is. Immediately, a loud response from the team was heard. Soon the ship started its engine, and a bright blue fire immediately appeared from the turbines. The ship flew away, and the one they were on before immediately burst into flames. The pirate ship is made of resin-colored metal with bright blue lights, and a sword covered with a grid of blue lights sticks out of the nose. They set up a lot of bombs to say goodbye to the delayed mechanism in time, in order to have time to escape from the field of view of that robbed ship during this time. Suddenly, the bomb's bulbs lit up brightly, 3 red and 2 green. The time has come. A cloud of bright orange fire enveloped the ship, and a huge explosion of the once flying and crowded vessel sounded. I was puzzled, as if I had a premonition of something. They're here. I decided, and my friend immediately became covered with waves, as if also feeling their presence. I rested my limbs on the exposed areas of the ship's floor and immediately sent a signal to the surface. Connection. A scarlet web of pulse energy immediately began to spread around the perimeter of the ship, filling it completely and giving me a complete picture of what was happening. Like black lightning with a scarlet aura, they hurried through the pipes that permeated the flying spacecraft. The ship was again absorbed by my energy in every area that the pipe system could reach, and it was almost everywhere. It's not bad to have such help, or rather such an ace up your sleeve. They break the side of the ship. I began to mentally study their actions step by step, so as not to lose sight of anything in order to make a docking. I noticed a ship on which it would be difficult to notice scarlet squiggles somewhat similar to a flower. Judging by the graffiti, this is Space Dog. The fire, like a snake, lengthened and immediately chased its tail, forming a circle of fire. A blow, and now from the kick of the pirate in the black mask, the carved circle flew away from his path. Kicking appeared first. A man with pale, more precisely, bluish skin and a black mask with a bat in his hands, followed by a mutant insect with a man's height, a guy who looks like either a clown who escaped from the circus or a rooster with the scarlet mohawk, followed by a man with the same bluish skin and blue hair gathered in a pigtail. Once on the ship, I continued to follow their actions. They would immediately go to the bridge. They may be professionals, I chuckled, but their actions are consistent. But are they smart or stupid? I was puzzled, watching as they again violate the integrity of the ship. Intelligent beings would immediately consider this ship strange. But apparently, they are blinded by greed, as well as tomb robbers who hunt for treasures. While one of them kicked the cut piece of metal with incredible pleasure, the other was already preparing for a clash with those allegedly present on the ship, loading his gun. But how funny their faces twisted when they saw the whole picture of the situation. Although, probably still part of it. I'm not there yet. The whole area that they were in such a hurry to capture is also covered with my spores, which I managed to arrange. And if they didn't care about them before, fools, then in an empty room, except that they have nothing to look at. Boss. The voice of one of the pawns in the lion's speaker rang out. The bridge is captured. But there's some kind of devilry going on here. Which one? The lion was surprised, stopping and drinking wine. There's not a soul on board. Covered with perspiration, a pirate with a bright red prosthesis on his head spoke. There are creepy trees everywhere. Trees? The lion growled angrily, crushing a glass with a pinkish liquid at the same time. Where do plants come from in space? Are you kidding me? It's true, boss. It immediately mumbled in response in the dynamics. Damn bastard. The boss of the space pirates immediately cursed and immediately jumped up from his seat. I'll check it myself. Otherwise, I'll break your heads. 2 improved hearts and mechanical devices with high performance. I began to study it when I saw, with the help of my impulse, the boss of the space pirates, who so confidently led the crowd. I think this mutant Hulk is the boss. Is it worth checking out the others? I thought, changing the angle to the pirates present, among whom is a mutant insect. A human is an insect whose body secretes pheromones. Cyborg Star Union, and the angle immediately changed to a man with a shock of lilac hair and glasses of a specific shape, a metal plate on his chin and chest. Who has an apparatus installed instead of a heart. A very diverse cartel. It seemed to me that I was in a difficult position, because for evolution I need to kill 10 representatives of another race. I thought, still emitting turquoise waves. But the pirates made it easier for me. I was surprised to notice something. My perspective changed to the girl who was following. Brown loose hair, white lab coat like those rats from the lab. And as if a similar shape to them is under the bottom. And who else is this? An ordinary person? As if she had a computer instead of a brain, I decided, taking a closer angle and studying her through and through. Behaves quite normally. You have to be careful with her. I decided, straightening up, which surprised the pink hopalong. Baby, where are you going? He asked, and his thin tentacle seemed to decide to portray a question mark. I'm leaving. I hissed back at him right there. It's dangerous outside, stay here. Better protect this thing. I hissed again and pointed to the only weapon that could harm me on this ship. A medium-sized device with a bunch of cones in a circle inside which something floats in a greenish solution. A piece? Experiment 26 asked again. It is very important. I hissed again and went to meet my guests with open arms. Aha! The pink lump exclaimed and immediately began joyfully jumping up and down on the spot. You can count on me, baby. This is my chance, I decided, not slowing down while the pirates relaxed their vigilance. It is necessary to destroy the energy source of the enemy battleship to block the escape route. They are very greedy, so they will want to protect both the research vessel and their battleship. I was thinking, still moving forward with terrifying speed. Probably, they will be divided into 2 squads. The hunt will begin as soon as the enemy splits up. Exactly the same as they did on this ship some time ago.